Dale Willms. If you have not seen the episode, please go check it out. We talked about investing and building and developing and cows. Who knows? If that interests you, please go check out the other episode. But we're returning guests for Deal Breakdown, where we cover cool, interesting stories. Dale said he has two interesting stories. I don't know if he's going to tell both of them, but I think one is intriguing about a lawsuit. You want to jump into detail about that?
Yeah, we had a project that we had hired a broker to sell for us. And the broker came in, and their job was to sell this community. And they brought in a real estate agent that was manning the model and selling the homes. Well, we discovered this agent didn't have a real estate license. And so we said, wait a minute, we can't do this. We own a broker's license. We'll lose our license. This is against the law. And so we terminated them immediately. And in this particular case, we were selling a townhome project. It was 80 units or something. And we said, well, we're only going to be able to pay you part of what you did, because we've got to bring somebody else in to finish it. You sell a unit. Well, there's still a lot of work to be done from the time that they sold to the time they close. You're working with them on selections, concerns, walking through the home with the project manager's name again time. So we did that, and we said, we're only going to pay you half. They ended up suing us and saying, hey, you've got to pay us all of us. This is the agreement. So, we're not sure about paying you on an agreement when you've broken the law. So we end up going to court through the suit, and they went and they sought a summary judgment. Summary judgment effectively says, we're going to not take this thing to trial, and we're going to find in favor of one or the other party. So we go in, we're sitting there, and I'm actually there with our attorney sitting at the table. The attorney walks in, not the attorney, the judge, looks down, looks at some papers for a few minutes, nothing's being said, and then looks up, looks at my attorney and said, he broke the law. So what? And it was like, it just sucked the air out of the room. Like, he broke the law. So what? You're a judge. How can you say he broke the law? So what? And so, our attorney talks about why it's a so what, and their attorney says, well, it doesn't matter. We have a contract, and we go back and forth. Right there on the spot, the judge finds in favor of them and says, no, you owe them the money. You have to pay. We don't care if they broke the law. And
wow.
Yeah, we were just like, how is this possible? This can't be possible. So we leave, and my attorney, he's with a pretty good sized law firm. And he goes back, and he's just stunned by this. And he brings all the critical people in. And the lawsuit was, I think, over $40,000. And so he brings in key people, litigators in his firm, and said, this is what happened. And everybody's just stunned. They're like, how could this be? How could a judge say, I don't care about the law, they broke it, so what? Pay them anyway. And so he, after consulting, they come back and said, if you file an appeal, guaranteed you're going to win this, win it on an appeal. They said, we can file the appeal. It'll cost you about $80,000. You'll win the appeal. We see no scenario where you don't win the appeal. The problem is, though, the way the court systems work is when you win the appeal, you'll spend $80,000. It'll get then sent back to the original judge saying your ruling was incorrect. You need to proceed. So we go back, and we'd be back at square one preparing for a trial. They said, and we don't know what that'll cost you, but it'll cost you $80,000 to get back there. I said, so what you're telling me is I could just pay this $40,000 judgment and he wins, even though he broke the law, or I can spend $80,000, appeal it, go back, and then spend some absurd money to actually win. They said, yeah, that's right. So I went home angry, ready to destroy everybody, and woke up the next day and went, sometimes you have to say, just walk away. It's not worth the stress. So we ended up writing a check for $40,000. And sometimes I go, man, I can't believe I let my ego do that. It's pretty wild. I look back, and I just still to this day look at it and go, how's that possible?
The judicial system is crazy in the United States. And whenever people mention lawsuits, it's always a big round circle that leads to nowhere. And the only people that get paid is the attorney.
Yes. Yeah.
It's almost not worth it to sue people. You also almost want to go to like mediation or some other form to shortcut that, because once you go that route, it's terrible, man. There's no winning in a lose outcome.
Yeah, that summary judgment, we probably spent $20,000, so it was, all done. I was 60 grand. The other attorney, I'm sure, was probably about $20,000. So all said, the guy that sued me ended up with 20,000 in his pocket, and the attorneys ended up with 40. Yeah. And I ended up with 60,000 less than I had. But, the principle I take from it that I do remind myself is, what's the opportunity loss? I've been involved in lawsuits, and it stresses you out. It's you're just carrying this heavy burden on you all of the time. And, and there's no way you can perform at your best and find that next deal and make good business decisions when you got a lawsuit over your head. So, in hindsight, it's like, yeah, we did the right thing, because how many deals would I not have done if we were focusing on that? But it doesn't change the fact that it just sucked.
Yeah, I feel bad. I'm really glad you brought this story, because this is the experience. And when you do business for a long time, there's going to be lawsuits that come up, and you can't really prevent them. People are just out there. They feel unjust, and they're going to sue you.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah, and then you have to, sometimes we get sued, and it's like, well, do you need to defend it all the way to the end? Because you also don't want to get a reputation for settling frivolous suits, because then you're just inviting people to come in and sue you.
Absolutely.
It's a tough one.
It's a double-edged sword for sure. Do you want to tell the other story as well, or you want to?
Yeah. We had a project. It's one of those. It doesn't matter how good you do your due diligence.
Yeah, absolutely.
We go in and, you do your soil borings and make sure, and you do your soil samples, and you do your wetland delineation if it's needed, and you do all the due diligence. So we had a project that we did all of that. And, we did the soil borings, and the soil's great. And we did soil testing. It's great because it was a redevelopment. We knew there was buildings on it before, and everything came back excellent. And so we're thrilled. We go in and it's an infill piece, and they go in to dig, and we find a buried gas station that was done in the 1930s.
Wow.
And it's just like, oh, this is a disaster. We're finding all this stuff. It's like, how did this get missed? Well, it just so happened that where they did the borings, there was no contamination, and they just barely missed hitting these different spots, because we did several borings. And so we had to over excavate this entire site, and we had to pull out gas station, gas tanks, buried gas tanks, foundations that were under there, tear it all out. And, it was one of those that's like, I don't know what you learned from that experience, because it's not practical to go put a soil boring every 5 feet on a site that you're trying to develop. It just happened to be that we missed it. Luckily the reclaiming the site, didn't delay us too much, only delayed us a month or two. And, the cost was a lot more than you like to spend, but in the big picture of the project, it didn't kill us and make us lose money. But, it's one of those that, it doesn't matter how hard you do your due diligence. It doesn't matter how hard you review and make sure that you're doing everything right. There's just sometimes that, part of real estate, there's a risk.
Yeah. You don't, you got some really good stories. Those two are really good. Like you never know what you're going to get when you buy something.
Yeah. You stick in the business long enough, and you're going to get some stories to tell that are funny, and some stories that are to tell that aren't so funny.
They're funny.
I should have saved the funny ones for you.
They're funny now. They're funny now.
Yeah.
They're funny now, and that's all that matters. Is you don't have to. It's in the past. You don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah. If you go long enough, though, you get some funny ones that are funny in the moment, and others that it takes some time to become funny.
Absolutely. Well, I have you as Centra Capital Partners. Where can people find you online again?
CentraCapitalPartners.com. That's where our investment arm, where people can build wealth with us. We also have CentraCompanies.com, which is the bigger picture, where we do apartments and other real estate. And then Dale R. Willms at LinkedIn.
Yep. If you haven't seen the episode, please go check it out. We had a good time. Thanks for coming on again. I appreciate your time. And for everybody here, go like, share, subscribe. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, we hope you're enjoying this content. If you have leads that you need to dispo anywhere in the country, please visit hivebc.io, like hivebuyersclub.io, and we'll help you move those deals that you need to get into the marketplace.